shifting focus to another very interesting concept. But first, as far as the work balance debate is concerned, Kerala has set the tone right, has become the first state to initiate a model wherein they're going to be laying out rules for what needs to be followed, when, what are the fixed working hours beyond which your boss cannot dial you. That story decoding in just a bit. Then we'll shift our focus entirely to Isha Foundation's Cauvery Calling initiative. It's demonstrating a powerful model of environmental and social transformation. And part of the initiative is also an all-women's nursery. This is Asia's largest, and it's transforming lives in so many ways, along with the kind of ecological balance it's striking in the entire region. That inspiring story coming up in just a bit. And then finally, we'll be taking you inside the mind of India's fearless 19-year-old. This is Judoka. He is India's teenage judo sensation. Talks medals, mindset, and how she finds what she fights for love of the sport, not just for glory. That conversation coming up in just a bit. First up, the top story of the day. Well, today we've been forced to ask, how many hours should India work? The debate has been raging for months, first with industry leaders calling for longer hours, and now with Kerala taking the opposite route. Kerala has introduced the right to disconnect bill, a proposal that gives employees the legal right to ignore calls, messages and emails after work hours without fear of punishment. It applies to private sector jobs across industries and even sets up district committees to handle violations. It's a bold step, but not a new one entirely, especially in the global context. Countries, for instance, France, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, and even Australia already recognize the right to switch off. Kerala has now become, in that sense, the first Indian state to officially propose the same. But it does raise a couple of questions. Can India afford to slow down in a world that's speeding up? The bill directly hits sectors where always on is normal. IT, media, finance, customer support, you name it. And there's also good reason to believe this may be the need of the hour. Studies show India's workforce is among the most stressed in the world. Burnout and anxiety are rising, and the World Health Organization says mental health issues are costing the economy billions. So supporters have called it a necessary correction, a legal line between work and rest. Critics, though, have said it is impractical in a connected world. Globally, some countries, remember, enforce bans on after-hour calls, and others rely on negotiated policies between companies and workers. The larger question this morning that we'll be raising with our expert is, can India, a country that often glorifies overwork, accept the right to log off? And what would that mean for leadership, for productivity, and most importantly, for mental health at work? To take that conversation forward, joining us now is someone who has led one of India's biggest FMCG brands. Mr. Sunil Alak joins us this morning. Good morning, sir. Hope you're doing well. So, having led one of India's most iconic FMCG brands, I want to start first by taking your first reaction, your initial reaction to Kerala Right to Disconnect Bill.
My initial reaction was that, look, you cannot deny that everybody needs a balance in life. There is no question about it. But how is it going to be executed is as important as the bill itself. The question is that in India, where you have a large population which works on a casual system, now whether you have fixed income, fine. But when you have variable income, then people do, or when people are in shifts, they have contract labor, they have X number of people, then it's become very difficult to execute, because no matter how much one tries, I have said that, look, payment on annual leave should not be extended beyond 2 years. If somebody does not come in for 2 years or 3 years, doesn't take his annual leave, he loses the amount of money. But people tend not to take annual leave. They take it for 1 week, or they take it for only 5 days. And then therefore, they are earning the amount extra of money that they have when they leave. See, it's a question of saying that, look, in a country where you have a large population who is living on variable income, like creative jobs, how are you going to keep control on advertising that on Monday morning they are supposed to come up with a campaign? Now, on Friday, they're asked, and or Thursday they are asked. And he's thinking all the time, 24/7. How is he going to stop when he comes in? Therefore, in the film industry, for instance, now in cities like Bombay where money is important, therefore you tend to earn beyond one shift, two shifts, three shifts. Actors come in for three shifts because they don't know how long their life will be and how long will their lives be beyond 35, 40 when they are heroes. Very few of us make it into that kind of thing. So in villages it will be, in rural areas it will be very important, but in cities where money is important, then people will tend to work. And therefore, how do you execute such ideas when they want to
Yeah.
work, when people want to work?
Mr. Alak, but that choice is entirely, it's very person to person dependent, isn't it? So, for instance, I may opt for two jobs at the same time, but if I can go with an option of just going for one, then why should that company not have a certain set pattern in place that doesn't require me to work beyond those hours? But what I do want to ask you is, of the analysis that you've shared with us, do you think right to disconnect should be standardized across India, or it should be left to be determined by industry specific needs and, let's say, internal company policies?
The internal company policies, like for instance, if you don't take annual leave beyond 2 years or 3 years, you cannot extend it. Now, internal company policies have to have a certain amount, but people who are in IT industry where they are constantly working on timelines, now they may be given a job on Thursday, by Monday they have to come up with something. So Friday or Saturday or Sunday, when they come up with an idea, then they're going to share it with everyone. No? So it's a question of how do you execute such a law in a country where money is important, in a country where urban areas where they work so many shifts, where they have fixed income like the government, it's very easy. But private sector, when you have variable income, which is attached to your fixed income, or variable income in terms of shift working, whether you want to work one shift or two shifts. Therefore, it's very easy to bring about a law, but execution becomes important.
The pointed criticism here, Mr. Alag, has been rewarding always on employees, and that ends up happening unintentionally. Is that also normalizing toxic work patterns? That's the first big concern that employees have pointed to.
No, it does not normalize, because if you take industries like FMCG companies, IT companies it will require, and therefore FMCG companies which sells biscuits. Now, come on, yeah. I mean, like if you're going to bring about this law, then one guy might complain, but nine guys might not complain. Therefore, the person who is going to deal with it is going to deal in a manner where nine people are not complaining, one person is complaining. Therefore, it is a question of FMCG companies like selling toothpaste or selling biscuits or anything like that. It's not going to be easy to execute. See, IT companies, it will be possible because see, L&T, the chairman came along and said, "How long are you going to look at your wife?" But he made a remark which has gone viral at
Yeah.
this point of time. When I met him, he said, "Look, I didn't mean it like that. You're going to look at your wife all the time." But all the same, in IT companies, it is very valid. But in other companies like doctors or when they work in shifts, now when there's an emergency, there's an emergency. Now, when they put in the law that if there is an emergency, then how do you define an emergency? It's an emergency that Monday morning they have to. Now, it's a question of saying 2 days is enough, 1 week is enough for you to think. Now, when is an emergency which comes in?
So you broadly categorize this as something that should be implemented keeping in mind the sector, industry. So for IT sector, for instance, you're saying it's a great plan. You've spoken about the practicality aspect, Mr. Alag. Do you also believe employees today, and this is, where the ethics part comes in, this is what people have been saying, this is why we've been having this conversation every now and then. Do you think employees today are overworked or expected to be available beyond working hours? And that is the real problem.
No, there's a question of them being overworked is not in my mind in terms of FMCG companies. In IT
Okay.
companies, they might
Yeah.
be. But I'm just saying that, look, as far as I'm concerned, as far as industry is concerned, if the guy wants to earn money, when is an emergency going to happen? Look, I said 5% must be new products in every company. Now, new products in excluding IT. Now you're bringing in something for IT, then they are working as mad. They're working too much. They're working on deadlines all the time. Whenever you send a mail across, then it's tomorrow morning you got to come out with something. And therefore, it's barring IT companies and information technologies, entrepreneurs, for instance, they work 24/7 when they're running a company. Now you talk to an entrepreneur, like I mentor a few entrepreneurs. Now they will say that, look, when you want to work, you want to work. Therefore,
Yeah.
it's not a question of anybody bringing in a law saying you cannot work or you will not work beyond a certain time. See, overall, yes, I fully agree that look, you must give a certain balance in life. But in countries like India, where the population is so huge and there's unemployment and money is required in cities like Bombay, then variable income comes into play, no?
Okay, I'm going to ask you a personal question, slightly notorious too, but it's up to you whether you can choose to answer, or we can quickly move on. But have you personally experienced the need to contact employees, for instance, after work hours, and if yes, why?
No, I don't contact them on work, but it's a question of saying that I brought about a law saying that it was important in all companies that, look, you cannot keep on annual leave. You must go on annual leave. That's when you take your family out. You must go on annual leave. Therefore, you cannot keep on adding so many years to when you leave. Some people were getting money for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, but it's 2, 3 years. You must go on leave at least for 2 weeks in a month or 3 weeks in a year or 2 weeks or at least 2 weeks. You must go out. So I would personally say that, look, it's important that you have a work ethic and it's important that you keep on a work system. But there is a reality in India which is unemployment, which is money required. And therefore, whether you, as a head of the company, you want to introduce something, but people will not listen to you. They want to work, they want to go out, they want to live, they want to do anything they want, and they will continue their own little systems.
Mr. Alak, the challenge comes in how do you implement that work ethic, and the lack of that proper implementation, I think, has led this debate to the mainstream every now and then. But I also want to ask you, where should then we draw the line between dedication, intrusion into personal time, and broadly, as per you, is legislation the answer, or should it come from leadership values?
It should come from leadership values, because that's what I feel. That, look, I never asked anyone in my organization to work beyond a certain time. But if they wanted to work, then it's up to them. So therefore, leadership values is very important. And each individual must work according to what he thinks is right. Bringing about legislation, how do you execute it? It's like, what they add in one word, except in emergencies. What is an emergency? For doctors, an emergency is immediate. For people like who was something emergency might mean 1 or 2 weeks later. So therefore, execution becomes ideally, it's leadership values which is important.
Yeah, I don't think doctors are ever going to be included into this kind of a legislation. Practically impossible, you're correct. The other challenge is, how would you handle urgent or emergency situations if you're legally restricted from contacting employees after hours, right?
No, if you work yourself, then automatically people will come in, no? On their own. You don't have to call them, but if they see the leadership value is working on more than hours, more than something emergency, then it's an emergency. On Saturdays and Sundays, I used to work, but it happened only maybe 10 times in a year. But you never asked anyone to come in, but when you went in, then they all came in. So leadership value is important, but if you're working every Saturday, every Sunday, then it becomes tough for individuals.
And that's the start point of this fear in the younger generation or the Gen Z. The feeling there is, Mr. Alag, in a startup, for instance, if you don't put in the same number of hours as your boss, and you said the boss, obviously, in a startup as an entrepreneur is going to go all the way. If you don't put in the same kind of work, hours, effort, you're going to be thrown out. That's the fear.
No, you won't be thrown out, because when a person is an entrepreneur, then he's in any case keeps it population tight. Therefore, it's only 3 or 4 people who are working there. When it becomes 20, 30 people doing it, then it becomes important to bring in legislation. But leadership values changes on time. It is important that leadership values change according to what the situation is. Supposing a guy who is an entrepreneur, he's working for 24 hours, he's not working for 24 hours, but he's working for 14 hours a day, then it becomes important if only 3 people around him are working. They are the ones who are working with him. And therefore, becomes difficult to execute. There's no question in terms of ethical values. I fully agree. Leadership values, I fully agree with that statement. But how are you going to execute it in a country where, see, Europe, where you brought in the law, the older people resign at 60 and then they go off. Now, how many of the population is young? Therefore, Gen Z has got to look at population when you want an employment. Gen Z wants employment, and that you have to keep in mind whenever anybody who is unemployed will take your place of employment.
Okay, now we're going to try and zoom out a little, Mr. Alag. From your leadership experience, do you think Indian corporate culture still glorifies overwork and always on availability? At least that's the sentiment. That's what employees feel. Has it truly come down to that? What's fueling this debate every now and then?
No, it's not come down as yet, but employment is very important in our country, and therefore the government thinks about employment all the time. You have 1.5 billion people, of which 1.2 is young enough to work, and they don't have a job. So therefore, giving them employment becomes more important, and therefore it's a question of industry-wise. Like doctors have to think. Doctors are available on emergencies. So is the daily workers. Now you have a lot of casual labor. If you make contract labor permanent labor, then that's the end of any factory. Now you have so many things in India, that is 1.5 billion, that execution becomes impossible.
Yeah. So execution, you're saying broadly, is the biggest challenge in this. Kerala, if it does succeed at this, if it ends up becoming a successful model in terms of implementation and execution, Mr. Alag, you think broadly it will be at the losing end in terms of business and investment opportunity? People are not going to look at Kerala as the ideal destination?
No, they are going to be when they are introducing it, but every law that comes in is got to be executed. Now, will they execute it? Or will they bring about a law when Parliament passes it, therefore there's a law? Now, after all, the companies, when they need a manager, all right, they need a manager for looking after the ethical part. So therefore, maybe one person will get employment in every company, which is private sector. This is not meant for public sector. Public sector is on fixed income, and therefore resign, retire, you can't get sacked. But private sector, you can get sacked. And therefore, each company will have to think of, look, it's not a question of each. In Europe, it might work. No question it will work, because the population is becoming older and there are a lot of young people there, very few young people there, and therefore it works there. But in India and China, where there's 1.5 billion, it won't work unless you bring about certain laws, execution. Look, we think it's the leadership value that is important in each of the private sector. It's when the guy on top realizes that, look, I need to do this, I need to do X, that will be proper execution, not a law.
Okay, so then you already answered my last question, which was going to be what, according to you, is then the possible solution to finally put a full stop to this ongoing debate in the Indian context?
No, but I've answered it because I think that overall everybody wants more time with the family.
Yeah.
But does the family want it, or do they want you to earn money? Do they expect you to work or not work? Industry specific becomes important. And therefore, you are left, not law, but the leadership is most important.
Okay, it's the leadership value that counts at the end of the day. Set the right example as the leader, as the person leading the pack. Thank you so much, Mr. Alak, for joining us with that very interesting conversation. Kerala has become the first state to look in that direction. Will other states follow suit remains to be seen. We head into a very quick break on that note. Coming up next, though, we'll talk about Isha Foundation's Cauvery Calling initiative. It's a powerful model of environmental and social transformation. We will be taking you through the Asia's largest all-women's nursery and what really is the story there in just a bit. See you.
Icons inspire, but the invincible define an era. Witness the unveiling of India's invincible icons on a stage that crowns greatness. CNN News 18 India of the Year 2025 coming soon. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Breaking news coming in right at the top of this hour. US President Donald Trump reiterated his claims that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has assured him that India would stop procuring Russian crude, adding that he also spoke with the Indian leader regarding this issue and also on trade. Speaking to reporters during Diwali celebrations at the Oval Office in the White House, he said that PM Modi also wants an end to the 2.5-year-old war in Ukraine. Listen in to what the US President has to say.
Please, thank you.
We stand great, and the people of India, I love the people of India, and we're working on some great deals between our countries. I spoke to Prime Minister Modi today, as I mentioned before, and we just have a very good relationship. And he's not going to buy much oil from Russia. He wants to see that war end as much as I do. He wants to see the war end with Russia, Ukraine. And as you know, they're not going to be buying too much oil. So they've cut it way back, and they're continuing to cut it way back.
And CNN News 18, Siddhant Mishra joins us on this broadcast. Siddhant, a very good morning to you. Could you help us understand the details about that conversation that played out between Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump? Also, what all did they discuss?
Well, that's right. So this is what President Trump has said. In fact, he again says that I love the people of India. We're working on some great deals between our countries. I spoke to Prime Minister Modi today, and we just have a very good relationship. He also says that he's not going to buy oil. He wants to see the war end as much as I do. So, Kanya, Prime Minister Modi has always, supported US in its efforts to stop the conflict, whether it's a conflict in Ukraine or a conflict in West Asia. In fact, Prime Minister Modi also congratulated President Trump for the ceasefire in West Asia. So definitely, India has always been in support of President Trump's policies when it comes to stopping war. In fact, that is exactly what President Trump has said, that he wants to see the war between Russia and Ukraine to end. In fact, Prime Minister Modi did speak to President Putin in Tianjin on the sidelines of the
Welcome back. We now take you to Kadalur in Tamil Nadu at what is being called Asia's largest all-women-run nursery. It is part of Isha Foundation's Cauvery Calling project, an effort that links ecology with livelihood. Here, nearly 200 rural women oversee every detail like growing saplings, even managing finances. The nursery produces 85 lakh saplings annually, most of which is now being dispatched to farmers. As we speak, across the Cauvery basin, homemakers have literally become tree makers here, and they're driving one of India's biggest soil regeneration campaigns. Okay, for more, let's hear from Anand Ethirajalu. He's the project director of Cauvery Calling and Save Soil, who joins us from the nursery itself. Good morning, Anand. Hi, hope you're doing well. Okay, you're offering us such a scenic view this morning. Is this the Cauvery Calling nursery in Kadalur? Also the world's or Asia's largest single-site nursery?
Yeah, right now we are at the Kadalur Nursery in Tamil Nadu, which has the annual capacity to produce 8.5 million trees every year by involving more than 200 rural women from the local villages.
Okay, let's go back now to the initial days of the project, of the vision. This nursery that we're talking about, where you're seated right now, is part of the project Sadhguru had launched. So take us all the way back to the initial days. What were they like?
Around 96-97, a group of UN scientists came to Tamil Nadu and they predicted that more than 60% of Tamil Nadu will be desertified in the next 25 to 30 years' time. Sadhguru, instead of believing the predicament, he took it upon himself to travel the state and found that it might happen much sooner if we don't take corrective action immediately. He started the community-based tree planting movement called Project Green Hands in 2004, which actually grew up into Rally for Rivers and Cauvery Calling, which is one of the world's largest tree-based agriculture initiatives. And today, over 250,000 farmers has enabled more than 138 million trees in the state of Tamil Nadu through community participation. So the whole story started when we saw that the soil is depleting at an alarming rate. It's not just what Sadhguru is believing, it's FAO's prediction that by 2050, 90% of our agriculture soils will be depleted. And in a scientific survey which was done in India, it shows that the soil organic carbon is depleting at an alarming rate. And another threat is that less than 2% of the farmers' children want to enter into agriculture. With climate change posing a threat on one side and the demographics in agriculture drastically changing in such a way, the average age of a farmer in India has crossed 50, which means that in probably a decade or two, the real food security of the nation is at a huge risk, and it's a very big question mark. And to tackle this is when Sadhguru came up with this idea of tree-based agriculture and regenerative farming, working hand in hand, where we can conserve the soil, optimize water efficiency, and build wealth and assets through trees for farmers. So basically, this is not just converting agriculture lands into trees. Basically, the idea is to add more trees into existing agriculture, where farmers can grow 25 different food crops along with trees as intercrops, which will give an additional income to them.
Okay, lovely. Anand, since we're talking lakhs and lakhs of saplings this morning, tell us, in your view, understanding of the experience you've had so far in the project, is tree-based farming the next big thing? And what are Cuddalore farmers saying after trying it? Also tell us a little bit about the wonderful 200 rural women who are running this nursery, how that's contributed to local empowerment, to economic development. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, two things. One is that this tree-based agriculture is not something new, or it's not the new age phenomena. It is basically bringing back what our forefathers did. Our forefathers always had 20 to 30% of their land with tree crops. They ensured that 1/3 of their food comes from trees in the form of fruits or nuts or something like that. We lost the track during the Green Revolution period when we shifted to monocrop agriculture. All that Cauvery calling and safe soil movement is trying to do is bring the indigenous wisdom back and contextualize it with technology to address the climate change and the rate of disasters that are happening on agriculture soils now. With respect to the nursery, this nursery is very special because we started this just 3.5 years back, and we didn't have any trained resource on the nursery. Instead of bringing people from outside who are trained, we decided that we will empower the local women in these areas and help them to build this nursery over a period of time. Within a span of 1 year, these rural women are so enterprising that they picked up all the skill sets required to develop this nursery. Today, it is producing 8.5 million trees using the technology that is required to do this. 200 women may or may not have any basic education also, but they have stood up as leaders. We have selected 7 teams out of the 200 people, and the 7 teams are led by 7 leaders who are again from the same villages. And today, more than 54 different species of trees are being grown in one single site.
Wow, lovely. Anand, there's so much more that this initiative is doing. It's going beyond what we're seeing in these lovely visuals. So tell us about that. How is Cauvery calling ensuring that tree planting is also aligned with local biodiversity and ecological sustainability in the region?
So actually, we have 11 ecological zones in Tamil Nadu, and we made a scientific study at the beginning of Project Greenance in 2004-2005 with one of the leading scientists in Tamil Nadu, along with Agriculture University. We listed down all the native and endemic species that farmers have been using traditionally over a period of 100-200 years. And we documented it. We saw what are all the species that are planted and grown in those ecological regions. And the nursery here in Cuddalore is able to produce species as per the requirement of the geography. We don't have a standard template or a prescriptive list of species that we thrust upon the community. In fact, what we do is we study the local requirements, we study the local soil and ecological conditions, and give a list of options to the farmers. Like how we get combo options in restaurants, we give this combo options to farmers depending upon their financial situation, their water quality and soil quality. They get to choose what they want to plant, and because they choose it, they grow it, and the survival rate has been more than 85% because of the active participation of the farmers.
Okay, and very quickly, can you share some of the success stories over the last 3-4 years from farmers in Cuddalore who have seen income increase? Because you're talking about an income increase of 300 to 800% after switching to tree-based agriculture.
One of the most interesting stories is when we started the program, we were finding it very difficult to convince farmers to plant trees for their livelihood, because a tree might take anywhere between 10 to 15 years to start yielding any real income to the farmer. So we found a farmer, a very innovative farmer, who was growing 15 different species of trees in his farmland. And within the trees, he was growing a lot of vegetables, flowers, and so on, which fulfilled his daily income. And the trees were just built like assets. His own son was despising his father to waste all these resources in planting trees, and he was never part of his narrative. When the son's wedding came, the son wanted around 15 lakh rupees for his wedding. And the father, being a proud farmer, decided not to take 1 rupee loan from outside. He just harvested 10% of his trees in the farmland. He met out the wedding expenses, and his son became the campaigner after his father's demise 10 years back. So the story, what we saw is that this farmer became the model farmer who inspired more than 1,000 farmers in the same district to take up tree-based agriculture. We followed the same model, built an economic plan around this kind of a model, and we promoted across Tamil Nadu. And we have more than 2,000 case studies and testimonials where farmers have successfully grown these kind of trees and profited through timber cultivation. Just to add a note of what is the requirement of such trees in India. India is one of the world's largest importer of high quality hardwood timber, and it is in the tune of 75,000 crores per year. And there is a possibility that our farmers can get this money. We can have huge savings in forest reserves by not buying it or importing it from other countries. And by doing so, we are also enhancing our soil and saving our farmers and de-risking our farmers' livelihoods.
Wow, lovely. The sound of it is so motivating, Anand. Thank you for sharing that brilliant story. I do want you to come in a little bit now on the annual sapling production capacity. You spoke about it briefly. Tell us more. And how is it maintained? The challenges that you all encounter on a daily basis?
Basically, for example, I'm sitting in this nursery which is around 30 acres, and more than 54 species of trees are being grown here, and around 8.5 million trees are being grown. Beyond this, we also have one more nursery in Tiruvannamalai which is producing around 1.5 million trees. And apart from this, we have trained more than 25 farmers who are trained to grow saplings in their own farms. So for the expansion of this program to reach its target of 2.4 billion, we have already started enhancing farmers who will be helpful to scale this program. These farmers grow these saplings and we have a buyback agreement from them so that this sapling production also becomes a livelihood activity for them. So in a year, totally, we are producing close to 15 million trees across all nurseries, including farmer-run nurseries and our own nurseries. And from the 15 million trees produced, around 12 million trees are distributed to farmers at a subsidized cost of just ₹5. Whether it's a sandalwood tree which sells for ₹40 or 50 in the market, or a neem tree which is sold at 5 or 10 rupees in the market, our standard price across all species is ₹5. This is made so because there is a commitment to the farmer to ensure that they don't waste the saplings. At the same time, the price is in such a way that it is affordable and accessible to farmers.
Okay, lovely, Anand. As we're inching towards the end of this conversation, I can't help but talk about the visuals that we're playing out for our viewers of how these lovely women out there are working in the nursery. Tell us a little bit about their story. From homemakers to literally tree growers. Tell us about the woman's story here, how they've become the backbone of the green economy in the region. Any special story of success, elevation that comes to your mind as I ask you this?
It's a very emotional story for me because these women did not have a livelihood throughout the year. They go for agriculture activity as labor for 3 months or 4 months in a year. Rest of the year, they were struggling to get job and support their family on a consistent basis. And they didn't have any training in nursery. They picked up the training in such wonderful ways. We brought in the Japanese 5S system of organizing the nursery in a clean and efficient manner. A lot of women came back to us saying that they started implementing the same 5S Japanese system of organizing into their own homes. For example, one lady came to me and said that my eldest daughter takes care of certain vegetable cutting in the home. My youngest one takes care of cleaning the house. The 5S Japanese system they started implementing in their own households. And there is a beautiful story where a few of these women started coming and telling us that their children now take up different aspects of organizing their home in a much better way. And their home has never looked so clean and organized ever before. Not only that, we taught them basic yoga programs for them so that they're mentally and physically they're agile and fit enough while they're doing this kind of labor-intensive activity on the ground. They started doing yoga on a daily basis. We have a small place here where they can come and practice yoga when they have time. So all these things as a community has built this into a family. Every celebration, all the women come together, they cook together and they eat together. And they're very proud that they're part of this program which is saving this planet.
And like we've been discussing, they're not just growing trees, they're also managing finances. So this 200 member strong squad literally taking charge of the entire nursery. Thank you so much, Anand, for being with us here this morning. With that, it's time for us to head into a very short breather. Coming up next is yet another interesting conversation. We will be shifting our focus to the world of sports. See you in a bit.
Nominees for the award this year are just simply brilliant. I think it's an assembly line of brilliance.
Incredible. I'm in awe, I'm inspired, and I honestly don't know who to choose.
We had a really tough time to decide.
Indians are making it on the global stage, and I believe that whatever happens happens for the best.
We're going to have a really tough time ahead of us to really pick winners.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Breaking news coming in right at the top of this hour. US President Donald Trump reiterated his claims that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has assured him that India would stop procuring Russian crude, adding that he also spoke with the Indian leader regarding this issue and also on trade. Speaking to reporters during Diwali celebrations at the Oval Office in the White House, he said that PM Modi also wants an end to the 2.5-year-old war in Ukraine. Listen in to what the US President has to say.
Please, thank you. We stand great, and the people of India, I love the people of India, and we're working on some great deals between our countries. I spoke to Prime Minister Modi today, as I mentioned before, and we just have a very good relationship. And he's not going to buy much oil from Russia. He wants to see that war end as much as I do. He wants to see the war end with Russia, Ukraine. And as you know, they're not going to be buying too much oil. So they've cut it way back, and they're continuing to cut it way back.
And CNN News 18, Siddhant Mishra joins us on this broadcast. Siddhant, a very good morning to you. Could you help us understand the details about that conversation that played out between Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump? Also, what all did they discuss?
Well, that's right. So this is what President Trump has said. In fact, he again says that I love the people of India. We work.
Welcome back. Let's now shift our focus to this latest conversation with Linthoi Chanambam, India's teenage judo sensation. She talks medals, talks mindset and how she fights for the love of not just the sport, but also the glory that comes alongside. We take you inside the mind of India's fearless 19-year-old judoka in this special conversation. Listen in.
She's just 19 and making history and making India proud. In 2022, she won the gold medal at the World Cadet Junior Championship, and now she is India's first ever medalist at the World Junior Championships as well. Linthoi Chanambam, welcome to CNN News 18. It's lovely to have you here with us.
Thank you.
Linthoi, so first of all, congratulations on that historic achievement at World Championship. Just talk to me about what was going through your mind during that bronze medal match, and how did it feel finally to be there at the podium?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I was like first of all, personally, I don't like bronze. I don't like the third especially. So, and I didn't win that bronze that much in my career. So, uh, but this time it was like something special, and this it's like a world championship. So it's different from other competition, definitely. So, what was in my mind? You mean in the podium, like when it's awarding ceremony? So it was like I have that kind of. People will call it arrogant, but for me it's confident. Like there was like our gold medal was from Japan, and so their national anthem was singing in the podium, and so but my our flag, Indian flag, was rising up in that side in front of me. So I was just imagining that our national anthem in my mind. I was singing that national anthem, that's Janagana. So I was not focusing on their national anthem. It was not like because of I don't know respect. It's because of it's just I treat myself that I make myself feel that um like how I imagine and how I dream. I was dreaming to sing our national anthem, but I try my best for that. But so unfortunately, it was not happen. So, but I like I keep my mentally like that. So.
Great, great, right. And right after that win, you shared a very emotional Instagram coach regarding your
Yeah.
Instagram post regarding your coach. And generally, it's like after medals, it's happiness, gratitude, those kind of. This one was different. Can you
Yeah.
tell the story behind that?
It's been 1.5 year, more than 1.5 year. I did not win any competition, and I had my first surgery in 2023. After that, I could not win medals, and it was very difficult for me to be there to be able to come back on the podium. So, and it's like lot of emotional, mentally. Forget about physically. Physically, I feel everybody is strong, but mentally, when it's come to mentally, it's like only some people have that, some athletes have that courage to come out from that kind of things and have a strong mentality. So it was very difficult for me like mentally. So it was difficult, and I was like after loss I used to lock myself in the room, and I did not came out, and I don't want to see people, and I was thinking what people will say, that after my goal in cadet. So people expect from me so much. I feel that, and so and I cannot win. So I was thinking what people will say, and I don't want to see people. I don't want to talk people. So there my coach take a big role for me, big role, and he never make me feel that I become less even though I lost. So he always have that faith on me that I can say that nobody believes me more than he does.
Let's rewind a bit. How was it for you growing up in a village back in your home state? And how did you pick up judo eventually? Were you somebody who played other sports, and why judo specifically something that really interested you?
Yeah, it's like I'm kind of I'm girl, but I behave like a boy. I like I can say that I have yeah, I behave like a boy. So and my all friends, childhood friend are boy only. So I don't have any girlfriend. So I grew up like that, and I used to play football, even boxing. In the in our ground, in our this thing. And but judo is very famous in my village, Mangfa. So. Arjun Award is there, even Olympic is there from my village. So it's very popular, very popular. People are crazy about judo, very popular. Even after my medal, now it's more popular. I think every home have judoka now. So and so that's how I pick up. So as a I used. I love to fighting. I love that adrenaline. I have short temper, and so I love it kind of go with that combat sport very well. So that's how I pick up. And after 2 year I play here. I was when I went to IS, I was 11 years old. Yeah, and yeah, that's how I started.
Okay, and now shifting our focus a little bit to the world of entertainment. After conquering films and OTT space, actress Shreya Pilgaonkar is now taking over the audio space as well with Audible's new series PG Mates that has a unique take on the life in Delhi University. In this exclusive chat with CNN News 18 Shosha's Abhijit Bhatt, she talked about her equation with Ali Fazal, the experience of working with Shah Rukh Khan in Fan, and the 3 Bollywood actors she'd love to share a house with. Listen in.
डोनाल्ड डक किसी को पसंद है मिकी माउस देवी और सज्जनों दिल थाम के बैठिए because we have the very talented Shreya Pilgaonkar in the house.
I was wondering how you're going to finish rhyming that, but I'm happy. It ended like that.
So Shreya, on a scale of 1 to मिर्जापुर कितनी भौकाल लगी आपको मेरी शायरी?
भौकाल वाली नहीं थी, 5.
5? Okay, it's okay. I'll take what I'm getting. So Shreya, thank you so much for taking out the time to talk to us. It's lovely having you. And after conquering OTT space and movies, हमने ये सुना है कि अब आप थोड़ा सा audio space की तरफ भी बढ़ चली हैं with the new audio series called PG Mates. So उसके बारे में कुछ हमें बताएं आप.
जैसे कि आपने कहा, आई थिंक आज स्टोरी टेलिंग का माध्यम इतना बढ़ चुका है, बट अगर हम बिल्कुल एट द कोर देखें तो हमने अपने पेरेंट्स की कहानियां सुनी हैं, नाना नानी की कहानियां सुनी हैं. सो ऐसी कहानियां जो हम सुनते हैं और फिर वो इमेजिनेशन हम पे होती है. In the past few years, इंडिया में एंड इंटरनेशनली सीरीज, ऑडियो सीरीज स्पेशली की बहुत ग्रोथ हुई है. रीजनल स्टोरीज की ग्रोथ हुई है. अलग अलग लैंग्वेजेस में लोग आके बहुत सुंदर इंडियन हेरिटेज कल्चर की कहानियां फिक्शन और नॉन फिक्शन स्पेस में बता रहे हैं. सो इन दिस कॉन्टेक्स्ट जब पीजी मेट्स मेरे पास आई, पीजी मेट्स की कहानी एज एन ऑडिबल ओरिजिनल और प्रतिलिपि के साथ, मुझे ये बहुत अच्छा लगा कि एक कमिंग ऑफ एज यंग अडल्ट स्पेस में ये एक कहानी है. कॉलेज लाइफ, दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी पे ये कहानी है, यंग स्टूडेंट्स की कहानी है. सो आई थिंक इट इज वेरी रिलेटेबल, नॉट जस्ट फॉर स्टूडेंट्स बट फॉर एवरीबडी, क्योंकि एक नॉस्टैल्जिया की बात होती है और आजकल मैं नोटिस करती हूँ कि लोगों को नॉस्टैल्जिक चीजों में बहुत दिलचस्पी फिर से होने लग गई है. So I really enjoyed this process.
Okay, all right. And before wrapping up this edition of the Breakfast Club, we want to take you to how Bollywood stars celebrated Diwali with joy and warmth, shared glimpses of their festivities on social media. For instance, Kiara Advani and Siddharth Malhotra's first Diwali as parents, Katrina Kaif and Vicky Kaushal's sweet moments together. All of this has lit up social media. Shabana Azmi's star-studded bash and Kriti Shannon's intimate celebration have also grabbed a lot of attention. We leave you with this one last special report. For more, thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow at 8.
Bollywood stars rang in Diwali with sparkle, laughter and festive cheer on Monday night. While some celebrities treated fans to glimpses of their celebrations, others sent out warm wishes to mark the joyous occasion. Kiara Advani made her first appearance since welcoming her baby girl in July. The glowing new mom joined husband Siddharth Malhotra in a heartwarming video as they celebrated their first Diwali as parents. Bollywood's Badshah Shah Rukh Khan celebrated Diwali with his family. He wished his fans by sharing a beautiful photo of his wife Gauri Khan performing a Diwali puja. Amitabh Bachchan also joined in the festive spirit, sharing his Diwali moments with fans on X. Soon-to-be parents Vicky Kaushal and Katrina Kaif shared a sweet moment by lighting a diya together. Akshay Kumar and Twinkle Khanna celebrated Diwali with a quirky twist. Instead of traditional sweets, Twinkle was seen feeding Akshay oranges in a cute picture. Karan Johar sent out festive wishes with his twins Yash and Ruhi. The trio looked adorable in coordinated outfits. Kangana Ranaut also shared a video from her home celebration. While Ananya Pandey marked the festival with her parents Chunky and Bhavna Pandey. Kriti Sanon shared cheerful family photos, but fans quickly noticed her rumored boyfriend businessman Kabir Bahia in the frame. Veteran actress Shabana Azmi hosted a grand Diwali party, and her now viral selfie featuring Vidya Balan, Konkana Sen Sharma, Dia Mirza, Richa Chadda, Ali Fazal, Divya Datta and Javed Akhtar is making waves across social media. Best friends Moni Roy and Disha Patni celebrated the festival together, and the pictures look really nice. Hrithik Roshan, Soha Ali Khan, Dhanush, Allu Arjun, Junior NTR and Anupam Kher also extended heartfelt wishes on social media. How did you celebrate Diwali?
Icons inspire, but the invincible define an era. Witness the unveiling of India's invincible icons on a stage that crowns greatness. CNN News 18 India of the Year 2025 coming soon. Brought to you by... This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Breaking news coming in right at the top of this hour. US President Donald Trump reiterated his claims that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has assured him that India would stop procuring Russian crude, adding that he also spoke with the Indian leader regarding this issue and also on trade. Speaking to reporters during Diwali celebrations at the Oval Office in the White House, he said that PM Modi also wants an end to the 2.5-year-old war in Ukraine. Listen in to what the US President has to say.
Please, thank you. We stand great, and the people of India, I love the people of India, and we're working on some great deals between our countries. I spoke to Prime Minister Modi today, as I mentioned before, and we just have a very good relationship. And he's not going to buy much oil from Russia. He wants to see that war end as much as I do. He wants to see the war end with Russia, Ukraine. And as you know, they're not going to be buying too much oil. So they've cut it way back, and they're continuing to cut it way back.
And CNN News 18, Siddhant Mishra joins us on this broadcast. Siddhant, a very good morning to you. Could you help us understand the details about that conversation that played out between Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump? Also, what all did they discuss?
Well, that's right. So this is what President Trump has said. In fact, he again says that I love the people of India. We're working on some great deals between our countries. I spoke to Prime Minister Modi today, and we just have a very good relationship. He also says that he's not going to buy oil. He wants to see the war end as much as I do. So, Kanya, Prime Minister Modi has always, supported US in its efforts to stop the conflict, whether it's a conflict in Ukraine or a conflict in West Asia. In fact, Prime Minister Modi also congratulated President Trump for the ceasefire in West Asia. So definitely, India has always been in support of President Trump's policies when it comes to stopping war. In fact, that is exactly what President Trump has said, that he wants to see the war between Russia and Ukraine to end. In fact, Prime Minister Modi did speak to President Putin in Tianjin on the sidelines of the summit, and then later he briefed the European leaders also. So that is also a role which Prime Minister Modi had played. And given India's unique position where India can speak to both Russia and both to the European leader, perhaps even President Trump also understands that very few countries in the world have this unique position. In fact, Trump has again announced that they are not going to buy the oil, so they have cut it way back. They are continuing to cut it way back. Again, that's the standard position of President Trump, that India will not be buying the Russian oil. But despite President Trump saying...
Inspire, but the invincible define an era. Witness the unveiling of India's invincible icons on a stage that crowns greatness. CNN News 18 India of the Year 2025 coming soon.
Good morning and a warm welcome. You're watching CNN News 18 with me, Grihatul. Let's begin with the headlines first. Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanks Donald Trump for Diwali greetings, vows to fight against terror together. Trump reiterates Russian oil claim after lighting a lamp at a special Diwali event that he hosted at the White House. Key Bengal districts record major mismatch in 2002-2025 voter lists as the Election Commission completes mapping before SIR exercise in the state. Political fireworks explode as city gasps for breath. Aam Aadmi Party mocks BJP government over pollution. BJP blames farm fires. BJP Kerala leaders brief President Draupadi Murmu on Sabrimala gold theft. SIT uncovers Devaswam board irregularities. Heavy rain / Tamil Nadu. Red alert issued in 8 districts. Cyclone alert issued. Trump-Putin meet in Budapest put on hold after Russia rejects ceasefire. Russia says no change in position. US Vice President J.D. Vance in Israel for ceasefire in Gaza says the ceasefire deal in Gaza is going better than expected. Let's begin with our top focus story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has thanked US President Donald Trump for extending Diwali greetings and he's hoped for joint efforts to fight terrorism. The remark assumes significance amid the US's growing proximity with Pakistan, remember, a country known for exporting terror and providing a safe haven to terrorists. The post comes hours after Donald Trump lit a lamp at a Diwali event at the White House and even told reporters that he has had a conversation with Prime Minister Modi. He also went on to reiterate his claims that Prime Minister Modi has assured lowering Russian oil imports and that he stopped the India-Pakistan conflict in May. The event was attended by the Indian ambassador to the US, Vinay Quatra, besides the FBI chief Kash Patel, intelligence head Tulsi Gabbard, new US ambassador to India Sergio Gore, and the Indian-American business leaders.
Please, thank you. We stand great, and the people of India, I love the people of India, and we're working on some great deals between our countries. I spoke to Prime Minister Modi today, as I mentioned before, and we just have a very good relationship. And he's not going to buy much oil from Russia. He wants to see that war end as much as I do. He wants to see the war end with Russia, Ukraine. And as you know, they're not going to be buying too much oil. So they've cut it way back, and they're continuing to cut it way back.
Let me take this across to my colleague Aman Sharma, who's joining us from the CNN News 18 newsroom. Also joining us is Siddhant Mishra. Aman, coming to you first. And straight to that claim that the US President made on how he has requested Prime Minister Narendra Modi of curbing on Russian oil imports. Is the Indian government really saying anything about that assertion that has been made by Donald Trump yet again?
Well, this is the second time, Griha, that he's making this assertion in the last few days. Earlier, last week, he had said that, India has promised him, that Mr. Modi on a phone call has promised him that India will not buy Russian oil any longer, which India had rebutted, saying there was never any such phone call on that day between Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi. Today, of course, there has been a phone call on the occasion of Diwali when Donald Trump and PM Modi have spoken, but completely varied versions, I think, of that particular conversation. Donald Trump saying that he has asked Mr. Modi and he has been told that India will stop buying Russian oil in the future, reduce it to a great extent. India, so far, government sources are not confirming any such assertion made by PM Modi. They are pointing us back to the MEA statement issued a few days ago that Indian oil purchases are determined by our national interest, by the interest of our people, by the kind of rates we get worldwide. And, if we see the figures of the month of September, India bought Russian oil worth nearly rupees 25,000 crores. It was just slightly less than August, just a small percentage point drop. India continues to account for 38% of the Russian crude oil purchases in total, just behind China, which is at about 43-44%. So the gap between India and China is also not that much. I think India has made it very clear on multiple occasions that Russia is a time-tested partner, a strategic partner. Vladimir Putin is coming to India on a bilateral visit after a long time in the first week of December. So I don't think India is assuring any such, giving any such assurance to US that we are going to reduce buying Russian oil or reduce it significantly. That decision, I think, is dependent on market factors. But Donald Trump is still continuing to make the claims that he has been doing for some time now.
Also, Siddhant, the fact that both countries together, at least that is how things panned out as the Diwali greetings were exchanged. They are going to be combating terrorism, fighting against terrorism. How significant is this statement coming from both India and the United States, particularly from the United States, considering the growing proximity that we have seen between US and Pakistan?
India-US relationship is concerned. It's very deep, and there is cooperation in many areas. In fact, the relationship is definitely going through a rough patch. There is no doubt about it. But as far as the official engagements are concerned, perhaps they still continue. In fact, there was 2+2 dialogue in August. Then the trade delegation, Indian trade delegation, was in the United States. Before that, trade delegation from the United States, India, etc., etc. So these high-level delegations perhaps hint at a point that both countries desire to reset ties. In fact, there have been two telephonic conversations between the two leaders, one on Prime Minister Modi's birthday, the other on the 9th of October. Now, President Trump is saying that he again spoke to Prime Minister Modi. Perhaps this is something which Indian side has not confirmed to us yet. But the good part there is that President Trump has realized the unique position of India when it comes to war in Ukraine is concerned. In fact, he said that Prime Minister Modi also wants war in Ukraine to end. So it means that United States has realized the unique position of India, where India can speak both to Russia and to the European leaders. And in fact, Prime Minister Modi did brief the European leaders after his meeting with President Putin in June. So, as I said, that this relationship it's a consequential relationship of this century. And in fact, President Trump celebrated Diwali at the White House. Indian Ambassador Vinay Quatra was very much present, standing in the White House at the Oval Office, standing next to President Trump. So definitely there have been, the rough patch is still continuing. In fact, there is no breakthrough as far as trade talks are concerned. But the high-level engagement between two countries perhaps hint at the fact that both countries desire to reach ties.
Absolutely. Do stay on with us, Siddhant. We have Mr. Ashok Sajjanar, former diplomat, who's joining us early this morning. Ambassador Sajjanar, I'd like to understand from you this constant assertion that's coming in from the White House, particularly from the US President, not just about stopping the war between India and Pakistan, but how he constantly goes on to say that he has gotten an assurance from the Indian side that they are going to be curbing on the Russian oil imports. What do we make of this?
I think, as far as India is concerned, we have made our stand very, very clear on both these issues. First, as far as stopping the war between India and Pakistan is concerned, I think at the highest level, and even in a direct conversation between Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump on the 17th of June, this was made very clear that it was a bilateral issue, and when the Pakistanis came pleading, asking for stopping the cessation of hostilities and stopping the conflict on the 10th of May, then India agreed, and that is how it was done. So I think India has made that very clear on a number of occasions. If President Trump has spoken of this 50, 60 times. India has made this clear at every level, whether it's the official spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs, or it is in the Parliament, or it is the Prime Minister himself speaking to President Donald Trump. So I think that is an issue that we should put behind us. We should not, it is my considered view that we should not be every time that Donald Trump comes out and says that we should be out there in the front ranks challenging him or
right.
He had, or the United States had any play. As far as India is concerned, they might have told pressurized Pakistan that Pakistan has no way of that one. Other aspect that mentioned about trade issue, that also we had said that there was no mention of trade whenever there are any calls made from the United States to India, whether it was Rubio or J.D. Vance.
Yes.
Even as far as the import of Russian oil is concerned, our official spokesperson mentioned very clearly that there was no dialogue between the two sides.
Absolutely. It was made well aware for the people of the nation that it is going to be dependent on consumer interest, and consumer interest is paramount, and all of that is going to be defining the Russian oil imports into India. I'd like to thank Ambassador Sajanar for his inputs. Right now, we're shifting our focus to phase 2 of Bihar Assembly election nomination. That withdrawal deadline is in fact on the 23rd of October. And the Mahagathbandhan, we are told, is still struggling to resolve internal clashes over a dozen of seats. RJD, Congress and the left parties have fielded overlapping candidates. They speak about friendly fights in constituencies like Vaishali, Sultanganj, Bachwara and Gora Boram. Senior leaders, including Congress's Ashok Gehlot, are in Patna attempting to settle these disputes. Some progress has been made, we are told, such as the Lalganj Congress candidate's withdrawal, but public acknowledgement of internal tussles risks splitting the votes. Observers are warning this, disunity will only go on to benefit the BJP-led NDA, with Chirag Paswan calling these clashes a walkover for the ruling alliance.
हम लोगों को गुमराह किया गया, हमें डार्क में रखा गया, हमारे साथ राजनीतिक धूर्तता की गई, आरजेडी की तरफ से भी हमें विश्वासघात मिला, और ऐसे माहौल में चुनाव क्या लड़ना जब अपनों ने ही धोखा दिया।
विड्रॉल के समय तक सब हल हो जाए और संपूर्ण एकता के साथ इंडिया गठबंधन चुनाव लड़े, ये हम आज भी समझते हैं कि जरूरी है और ऐसा ही होगा।
थोड़ी सीटों पर जरूर फ्रेंडली फाइट हो सकती है, बाकी कोई नहीं है। बिल्कुल हमने पूरी स्टडी कर ली है, सारा कुछ जो चल रहा है प्रोसेस वो आगे बढ़ रहा है। जल्दी वहाँ पे ऑल पार्टी गठबंधन वाले बैठेंगे, प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करेंगे और इससे स्पष्ट कर देंगे। तमाम बातें आपको 1-2 दिन में मेरे ख्याल से जल्दी आपको इत्तला मिल जाएगी, और तमाम जो जिस प्रकार से कंफ्यूजन पैदा किया ना वो समाप्त हो जाएगा। दमखम के साथ कांग्रेस उतरेगी मैदान के अंदर।
स्वार्थ से भरा हुआ ये गठबंधन है। ये लोग लास्ट तक कभी अभी जाकर के नंबर जब चुनाव में जा रहे हैं, इनका नंबर आया, एक सीट पर इनके 2 कैंडिडेट लड़ रहे हैं, कोई अलायंस नहीं है। ये सत्ता के लिए कुछ भी करने के लिए तैयार है। वो लोग भी मान चुके हैं। लार्जर बात यह है कि उनको भी पता है कि रिजल्ट क्या होने वाला है। तो जब आप 5 पार्टी मिल करके इकट्ठा होकर के अपना चीजों को नहीं फिक्स कर सकते हैं, तो 13 करोड़ बिहार के लोगों की समस्या का आप क्या निदान करेंगे?
Getting in updates from Bihar, we are learning that Bhupesh Baghel and Ashok Gehlot will be speaking to Bihar Congress leaders today in a bid to avoid friendly fights. 11 seats still remain a headache for the Mahagathbandhan. Meanwhile, a joint press conference of the Mahagathbandhan has been postponed. Remember that press conference was supposed to take place today, but that also stands postponed. What does all this mean? Does the infighting continue? And that will, of course, go on to benefit the ruling alliance, the NDA alliance in Bihar. My colleague Pallavi Ghosh with all of that information. She's joining us live from Patna. Pallavi, what is really happening in the Mahagathbandhan camp?
Well, not much is happening in the Mahagathbandhan, and that is a worry, because if you look at the NDA, they're already chalking out their schedules of joint rallies, campaigns going on, the Home Minister coming, then the Prime Minister also turning up, Chirag Paswan, Nitish Kumar, all of them are out and about, even though there's chhat around the area, and this is when it normally sees a lull. But you don't see that lull happening as far as the NDA goes, but within the Mahagathbandhan, the lull is very much present there. That is the reason why the observers of the Congress party, that is Ashok Gehlot as well as Bhupesh Baghel, they are going to be landing in Patna anytime now. The first task is to ensure that at least on those 11 seats, there is no friendly fight, because it's not really a very friendly fight. What it has done is it has led the cadre very confused. The same cadre which has been asked of the RJD and the Congress to work in close coordination in other areas because of the alliance are now in a sense prepared to fight against each other wherever candidates from both the RJD or the Congress or the CPI are contesting. So it is leaving the cadre very confused. It's also making the Mahagathbandhan look very out of grip, and that is going to be the main task of Ashok Gehlot, to try and ensure the withdrawal of candidates where the last day happens to be tomorrow. But what we are also picking up is that many of the Congress candidates also don't want to withdraw. They say, let it be, we still want to contest against the RJD. Why should we lose our identity or asitwa? Now that is going to become a huge area if some of the Congress candidates do not withdraw. And in case they are forced to withdraw, or if the party takes action against them, I think it's going to make the situation even worse.
Right, absolutely. And talking about friendly fights, there has been a swipe that has been taken by leaders like the NDA leaders like Chirag Paswan, that what even is a friendly fight? They are contesting against each other. They'll end up cutting each other's vote. It's not going to be benefiting either of the parties, and eventually that will be a walkover for the NDA.
Well, the Mahagathbandhan is a very old alliance. It's an alliance of parties like the CPI, the RJD and the Congress. So they also know and understand the rules of the game. After all, the same Mahagathbandhan was in power for a brief period in Bihar. It is very important that those 17 to 18 months when they were in power, that would be used to energize the cadre. But today the cadre does look very, very confused, because the cadre is unable to understand that are we supposed to fight along with the RJD, or are we supposed to fight against the RJD? And that is why I think the issue comes on a platter to the BJP or the and the NDA, that, look, if there is an alliance which is fighting against each other, despite being a part of the same alliance, can they really offer you a stable and credible government? It's going to start having an impact on the campaigning as well. Well, all eyes certainly on that meeting which is going to take place later today, and then of course going to see whether withdrawals happen tomorrow, and that is only after that a joint schedule of Rahul Gandhi and Tejaswi Yadav's campaign will be chalked out.
And the press conference, Pallavi, is that going to happen today or not today?
Well, I mean, as of now, no scheduled press conference or joint press conference taking place.
Okay.
What Congress is telling us is that, we cannot have a press conference till we don't sort out these issues. So tomorrow is an important day. We'll have to wait to see how much of the withdrawal takes place. And basing on that, you're going to talk about a joint press conference to offer a certain amount of clarity to the voters.
Right, Pallavi. Thank you so much for all of that information. More reactions coming in. Take a look.
जनता इंडिया गठबंधन को वोट देने के लिए कई कदम आगे है। उनके भीतर पागलपन है 16 साल का। वो न्यू गवर्नमेंट फॉर्म करना चाहती है। हमारे पास सबसे बड़ा आइडियोलॉजिकल लीडर है, संघर्ष के लीडर है राहुल गांधी। हम उनके नेतृत्व में लड़ेंगे। उनके नेतृत्व में लड़ेंगे तो अत्यंत पिछड़ी जाति और एसटी एससी का वोट हमारे तरफ टर्न अप होगा। हम इतना ही जानते हैं। इस चुनाव में सीएम फेस पर किसी भी कीमत पर चुनाव इंडिया गठबंधन के लिए सही नहीं होगा।
देखिए, बिहार में मुद्दे ही दो हैं, विकास और सुशासन, और एनडीए इसमें बहुत आगे है। एनडीए ने बढ़त बना ली है, टिकट वितरण में भी, चुनाव प्रचार में भी, और जो मुद्दे तय हुए हैं विकास और सुशासन, इसमें भी। इसलिए निश्चित रूप से एनडीए जीतेगा। चुनाव में जो मुद्दे थे, उन्होंने जो मुद्दा, उनका तो जंगल राज का मुद्दा फील्ड में है ही। उन्होंने जो मुद्दे तय किए वो मुद्दे चले भी नहीं उनके। जो इंडी गठबंधन जिसको हम बोलते हैं, जिसने कुछ लोग उसको महागठबंधन कहते हैं, उनका तो टिकटों का वितरण भी सही हुआ नहीं हुआ उनका अंदरूनी मामला, लेकिन झगड़ा हो गया।
जिस तरह से टिकट बंटवारा और सीट का चयन में महागठबंधन का खेल हुआ, चाहे वो पैसे का खेल हो, तो मैं उसको अब महागठबंधन नहीं कह के उस गठबंधन का नाम महालठबंधन हो गया। तेल पिलावन लाठी चलावन। और ये महालठबंधन जो है पूरा जनता और मतदाता देख रही है। और यही कारण है कि 2 दिन से, अगर 2 दिन के आप बिहार के माहौल को देखें तो माहौल एकाएक एनडीए यानी राष्ट्रीय जनतांत्रिक गठबंधन, जनता दल यू, बीजेपी, हम, लोजपा और रालोमो के तरफ मतदाता का रुझान बढ़ा है।
Well, this is a panchayat which is happening over here. Every evening it happens. So we are trying to catch up with them and also get another sense about whether the vote chori issue is really an issue or what really matters to the people over here. यहाँ पे शुरुआत हुई थी ना वोट अधिकार यात्रा का, राहुल गांधी, कांग्रेस, आरजेडी का मुद्दा है यहाँ पे। इस पे वोट देने जाओगे कि किस मुद्दे पे वोट देने जाओगे?
हम लोग राहुल गांधी के मुद्दे पे वोट देने जा रहे हैं। हाँ,
वोट चोरी पे दोगे? क्या वोट चोरी होती है?
अब हम तो नहीं जानते, हम नहीं देखते हैं, लेकिन जनता कहता है कि वोट चोरी होता है।
तो आप भी तो सोचोगे ना कि वोट चोरी हुई। आपकी वोट चोरी हुई है क्या?
ना, हमारा वोट चोरी नहीं हुआ है।
आपके वोट चोरी हुई है?
हमको
आपका वोट है?
हमारा वोट है नहीं।
वोट है?
हाँ।
अच्छा, यहाँ पे